Hi everyone, Some Gamer Dude here. Recently I've been spending a bit of time in the custom card channel in the Force of Will Discord. I have enjoyed seeing other people's creations, and honestly, I think making cards in games similar to what you intend to create is good training. My long-term goal is to have a company running 3 games, one of each genre of TCG. So making cards for a Magic type game is good practice for me. In addition to this, I've been thinking about the Seven Kings of the Land a lot since I made that Alice Cluster series earlier this year. If you want another cluster series, say so in the comments. Anywho, all of this rolled together and I decided to make a cycle of cards for the Seven Kings. A series of editions that try to cover their weaknesses, make them feel far more complete and hopefully competitive. Except Machina. Machina was good anyway. He gets a fun card instead. Also, of note, Valentina, Plotting Lord of the Seas, was so incredibly hard to build around that I straight up included a line of text to blank the card if she is your ruler. If I didn't do this, Prisha especially would have suffered, and Melgis's card likely would have made Val far more overwhelming than she already is. So let's just get started with Faria. Faria has some odd quirks. Seems like she's set up for a Soul Sisters type build, but never got her Ajani's Pridemate. She's associated with the Knights of the Round, but never interacted with them. Her effect is also overcosted. I tackled everything in one neat bow. Apologies if the syntax is off, I tried my best to match it. Aura of the Sacred Queen, like the entire cycle, has a converted will cost of 1. I ifed a number between 1 and 2 converted will costs, but I decided on 1. They are all specific to one ruler. It doesn't warrant a higher cost. Though Regalia, who knows, maybe they should be free. The first effect is to lower her cost to what it should be. I didn't want it to go infinite, so it can't be lowered past white, but white for 100 life is worth it versus what we had. It also makes Gloria Castletown far more usable. White for plus 300 on a base 2 edition falls into line far better than 2 white, which was too costly. In addition to this, all of your Knights of the Round become pseudo Ajani's Pridemate. I'm still iffing and umming on the power level here. Maybe it's too weak. Maybe it should have been Faria's chosen goal for all Knights of the Round Table, a counter for each of them when you gain life. But that felt overboard on an effect you can activate at your own discretion for just white. I didn't want multiple in play, pump up each knight by a large amount. Remember, multiple out will give you multiple counters for each life gain. So if you end up with 4, it's white for plus 400 permanently. I really think once you hit 2 out, it becomes value. It's still a bit slow and needs a bit of investment, but I think it really brings out Faria's potential. I still would like a little more space with Faria to give her more stuff. I really think there's a whole deck there waiting to be made. But that'd require Alice Cluster 2.5 or something along those lines. Next up we have Melgis and Jeez. Melgis is a fairly mediocre J-Ruler beta. Good keywords, quick judgment, all he has going for him. Aura of the Flame King doesn't really do much anyway, just gives him pierce. I felt that it was enough that his swings were comparable to him having flying. He can at least inflict damage if they block him, and it plays nicely with his first strike. In addition to this, when they kill him, he blows up in their face, 500 damage for each aura you have in play. This was originally 1000 and drew you 2 cards, but that felt really overboard, especially when I wasn't thinking of having multiple in play. You don't want draw 8 on your J-Ruler dying. Oh, when you win. This feels like it inches towards that win. Melgis is not a good card. I'm not sure how much better you can realistically make him before you completely redesign him. Just giving him another keyword and some more burn damage, plays with what he has, felt like the best he could do. The main issue I have with this aura, and it's not the only card like this in its cycle, is once it does its job, it's a dead card, it doesn't do anything. Unlike Aura of the Sacred Queen, which mostly interacts with the ruler side, but can be used with the J-Ruler via other life gain. Moving into SKL proper, we have Arla. Arla is a toughie because he literally has no themes to draw on. Flyers, Angels, Board Wipe. That's all he does. So I decided to draw from later Force of Will and later iterations of Arla. He now makes Angels mana dorks. Tap them to produce light. Light would eventually get mana dorks, and Arla has been associated with wind multiple times. I felt it fit well, and the Lock to Angels helped to draw from the J-Ruler Enter effect. This at least gives him some identity and has some basis in his later cards. Now we can get Celestial Wing Seraph in at a reasonable pace. The second effect is just Invigoration of the Winged Lord. I always like this card. Pseudo-Vigilance, untap Resonators at the end of your turn after a power buff. It's associated with Arla, so why not just give it to Angels? That way they can protect you after tapping for resources or attacking. Guardian Angels. I think Arla is one of the worst of the Seven Kings, and his aura is undoubtedly one of the stronger ones on face value, but I don't think it's as strong as it looks. Within the confines of the two clusters Alice is surrounded by, Grim and Lapis, there is only one one-cost angel, Little Angel of Amala, and the two-cost angels either need awakening or are mediocre. This isn't to say the aura doesn't improve Arla, it does. It just focuses more on helping his theme deck. Valentina was my pet ruler for the entirety of the Alice cluster, one of my favourites, so I had to really restrain myself. It was hard to get her to really play with her activated ability while keeping it on theme, let alone a secondary effect for the aura to be something Val could possibly use. First part is to make the Gorgons interact with her activated ability. A big issue with Val was she was given a theme only her Regalia interacts with, and Medusa in particular was too high cost. Now not only can Stheno and Euryale be used to pin down or blank cards in a tactile manner, but the opponent always has to fear when attacking that Medusa will come block them. Medusa suddenly becomes 2 cost or even a 1 cost, with what is essentially quick cast. Even while one Medusa is using Gleipnir to remove the opponent's board presence, if they deal with her and attack in, another might be waiting in the wings. It's very arguable that the Gorgons should have been 2 cost in the first place, especially with the power level of Lancelot. So this corrects that and then some. The second part gives Val infinite hand, so she can get really beefy with Gleipnir and her own abilities. Nothing too special here, I just wanted to help her out a bit on her J-Ruler side. I wanted her to surpass 12-12. I really didn't know what to do with Prisha. She's not terrible on her backside, just superfluous. She doesn't really add that much to the deck, especially after Huanglong was printed in the Twilight Wanderer. That card was just Prisha's god art on a bigger body. Prisha went through a couple of designs. The original was literally Alice Origins 2 Huanglong, just with +100/+100 instead of +200/+200 he has. But it felt lazy, overpowered, and didn't do anything with her incredibly lackluster front half, so I went back and revised it. The first effect of Aura of the Beast Queen now gives her and the targets a +100/+100 counter each, and yes, it stacks. This way the effect has some use. It ends up a little stronger than Aura of the Sacred Queen, but that's fine. I think there is less to play with on base. Faria has more potential to combo into other things, and this doesn't lower the cost like Aura of the Sacred Queen does. It's still green-green. It just helps make your Resonators and Prisha a bit beefier. It plays into the aggro. Then, while she's a J-Ruler, should you control all 4 Force Sacred Beasts, they gain +100/+100 for each counter Prisha has and all of her keywords, meaning they share each other's. This is a remnant of the Huanglong design, but toned down. I didn't want her or them gaining barrier. Yes, it's for every counter and every copy of this card, but I can't imagine they'll get more than plus 400 without forcing it hard. As I said, Prisha is largely fine. There are just better things to run with the 4 Sacred Beasts. She needs a little push to make her stand out. Rezard was another rather difficult one, since I don't think he's bad, just again doesn't come together. He's too torn between Chance Standby and Graveyard Shenanigans. There is some crossover. Grave sets up the God's Art, and a lot of the stealth can trigger off the God's Art for a game-ending scenario, but like Prisha, he's not the best for this mechanic. Parents with anyone else is straight up better, so I decided to just make what he had better. To not lose the stealth resonators, he can now pay black to place a card from grave into Chance Standby. I was originally going to give him Seer of the Blue Moon, or have this card be Black Wizard, the stranger one, but it felt lazy. Sure, it's useful, but he places down 2 when he flips. Seer isn't worthwhile, and do I really want him having a full black ramp? No, not really. So I wanted to play with the zombies that self-mill. He now has the ability to pay black to place cards from the grave face down into Chance Standby. This means he doesn't lose them if he self-mills. I locked it to once per turn and only during your turn in case of shenanigans. Like life decks, self-mill can feel really bad because you don't do the thing anymore. Again, like life decks, you need tools to get your stuff back to do the thing. This also means self-mill gives Rezard pseudo grave hand, which can be very useful. I don't think he's necessarily super slow, but you'll probably want to spend turn 1 and 2 self-milling a bit for setup for his God Art and this card. Oh, and you want copies of this card in your grave to help Persephone, Arthur, and Death Scythe reach their thresholds. This card is considered to be 2 resonators in your graveyard. Resonators specifically because of Arthur. Depending on what you're doing, this might actually be more useful in your grave than in play. Persephone isn't actually that bad. She's a +1 for 2 on a 7/7 body. She's just unbearably slow. This helps her. It also means less removal needed for the other 2. I think she just needed a little bit of support to get her up to speed. 2 becomes 3 if you mill this, from a 5th to just under a 3rd of her threshold. Use it with Soul Hunt, instant 3 there too. When you go for the God's Art, this is considered to be 2 there as well. Finally, we have Machina. Machina is a great card that stood the test of time for quite a while, so I didn't have to improve him. I decided to go in the opposite direction. Improve Maribel. Maribel gains Pierce and a +100/+100 counter for every wind and water will spent on her activated ability. I was tempted to push harder, essentially turn her into Maribel Insane Self-Aware Machine, give her the keyword skills of all your other machines, but that felt overboard. Just make her beefier and give her Pierce, she's fine. Also a machine to help with that. Yeah, Maribel can go to insane numbers, but Regalia control can kill her. I think just letting her do this is fine. As I said, Machina just wanted a good card, he's good as is. Today was an experiment and a bit of fun on my part, not a super serious video. Tell me what you think of the cards and how you'd help the 7 Kings of the Land get good. Till next time, this has been Some Gamer Dude, and thanks for watching.